Hello, welcome back to my channel. We are reading the book Creation Cries Out, the Mazzaroth, chapter 7. And I was trying to show you guys in the last video towards the end Ezekiel's 4 wheels that he saw within a wheel. And this is a good diagram that explains what he was seeing as far as the Zodiac. When you break it down, this describes exactly verse by verse what Ezekiel was seeing was definitely the Zodiac and the heavenly scroll. Matches all the prophets. So anyway, let's continue on with Creation Cries Out, chapter 7. The Heavenly Wedding Portrait. Chapter 7, the Zodiac proclaims the feast cycle. With that introduction to the Heavenly Scroll, the Zodiac, we are now prepared to examine the 12 signs of the Zodiac, to see what story is told to all mankind in the heavens, the visible place in the sky where the stars are located. As we know now, this mystery was revealed to King David in Psalms 19. We see that the sun and moon rises and sets daily, night after night. Knowledge concerning the plan of salvation is proclaimed, without voice or speech, from one end of the earth to the other, to all mankind. Remember what Apostle SHAUL told the Galatians, that before their very eyes the Messiah was seen as crucified in the stars. Apostle SHAUL also proclaims in Romans chapter 1 that mankind is without excuse because the plan of salvation is evident in creation. We see then David define the Zodiac in detail as that message. Again, Psalms 19. I know some of this is repetitive, but it is very important for us to learn and even memorize, because the church does not teach this. It has been hidden and covered up and twisted. Psalms 19 verse 1. The heavens, speaking of the Zodiac, are telling of the glory of Yahuwah, and their expanse is declaring the work of his hands. Day to day pours forth speech, and night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor other words. Their stars and constellations' voice is not heard. Their line, ecliptic, the path of the sun through them, has gone out through all the earth, and their utterance is to the end of the world. In them, the constellations, Yahuwah has placed a tent for the sun, which the sun is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, a metaphor for Yahusha, who is the bridegroom. It rejoices as a strong man to run its course of a wedding. The sun's rising is from one end of the heavens, and its circuit through the constellations to the other end of them, and there is nothing hidden from its heat, a metaphor of the message shining down from heaven to all mankind. The sun rises from one end of heaven, and then its circuit or Zodiac is like a bridegroom coming out of his chamber to run the course of a wedding, says King David. The Messiah, Yahusha, understood this too, knowing that he was the fulfillment of that plan of salvation. He was the bridegroom, and that role was defined in the original revelation in the stars called the Zodiac, or the Mazzaroth. John 3:29, verse 29. He who has the bride is the bridegroom. But the friend of the bridegroom who stands and hears him rejoices greatly because of the bridegroom's voice. Therefore this joy of mine is fulfilled. Yahusha's joy was fulfilled in knowing that he was the one spoken of in the message of the Zodiac. Yahusha explains in Matthew 25 that the message of the bridegroom found written in the stars was a long time coming before he was born to fulfill it. Mankind fell asleep, and the message of the Zodiac, which proclaims the bridegroom and the wedding, was forgotten. Matthew 25, verse 4. The wise ones, however, took oil in jars along with their lamps. The bridegroom was a long time in coming, and they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight the cry rang out, "Here's the bridegroom, come out to meet him." This is the meaning of the parable of the 10 virgins. We read in this parable that most people, 5 virgins, would disregard the Zodiac and the message it contained of the bridegroom coming. Let the oil in the lamps run out. Others would study and retain the knowledge written in the stars, and be prepared for the arrival of the bridegroom, because his return is a sign in the sky, or a prophetic marker in the constellations of the zodiac. We see that only those who understand the meaning of this message and the reality of how the feast cycle is a fulfillment of the plan of salvation are invited to the wedding, foretold in the heavens that we forgot the heavenly scroll. Revelation 19, verse 9. The angel said to me, "Write this, blessed are those who are invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb." And he said to me, "These are the true words of Yahuwah." These are the true words of Yahuwah is in context of speaking of the marriage supper of the Lamb, which is found prophesied in the Zodiac since the creation of the universe. As I pointed out earlier, in addition to this message being of the bridegroom running the course of a wedding in Psalms 19, it also speaks of a lamb that was slain at creation, Revelation 13:8 and Revelation 5:6. In this way, the true words of Yahuwah is the message contained in the Zodiac, the original gospel. David sees the Son as a prototype for the Messiah as a bridegroom, and the path it takes through the constellation is the course of a wedding. This physical metaphor of the Son as a bridegroom, or as the bridegroom, pointing to the Messiah, is repeated throughout Scripture over and over again. This is in fact true, as the Son was created as a witness of the coming of the Messiah and what that Messiah would do. In other words, the Son of Yahuwah is a physical to spiritual parallel of the Son of Yahuwah, like the sun in the sky that shines is a parallel to the Son of God, who delivers us salvation if we keep in covenant with him. This striking declaration in Psalms 19 clearly tells us that Yahuwah built into the Zodiac the story of redemption, and through the stars has been witnessing his plan to all humanity in a unique view only from earth. The original revelation of Yahuwah, of Yahusha, found written in the stars represented by the Zodiac, is only told from the vantage point of earth as we look up into the heavens at the eternal secrets they have preserved. We read in 1 Corinthians 2:7 that Shaul mentions that he came to proclaim the testimony of Yahuwah, which is a message of wisdom concerning the sacrifice of Yahusha, who is predestined before the ages to our glory. That message is that of a lamb that was slaughtered before the foundation of the world, as John proclaimed in Revelation. All these references of Yahusha being proclaimed, speaking directly of the gospel message contained in the Zodiac. We read below, this message, predestined before the ages, is a mystery that has been hidden, that Yahuwah destined for our glory before time began. In other words, Yahuwah wrote the plan of salvation into the stars. Corinthians 2:7. And so it was with me, brothers and sisters, when I came to you. I did not come with eloquence or human wisdom, as I proclaimed to you the testimony of Yahuwah about Yahusha, which is the heavenly scroll. For I resolved to know nothing while I was with you, except Yahusha the Messiah and him crucified, as portrayed in the heavenly scroll. I came to you in weakness and in great fear and trembling. My message and my preaching were not with wise and persuasive words, but with the demonstration of the Spirit's power, so that your faith might not rest on human wisdom, but on Yahuwah's power, displayed in creation. We do, however, speak a message of wisdom among the mature, but not the wisdom of this age, or of the rulers of this age, who twisted the Zodiac into witchcraft, who are coming to nothing. No, we declare Yahuwah's wisdom, a mystery that has been hidden, and that Yahuwah destined for our glory before time began, authoring the plan of salvation into the heavens on day 4. None of the rulers of this age understood it, because it was corrupted by the watchers, the fallen angels. For if they had, they would not have crucified the King of Glory, the heavenly scroll. The heavens tell the glory of Yahuwah. then Yahusha. That is just amazing, that verse, or that revelation, I would say. If we truly are going to unlock the mystery of the Modium annual feast cycle, we must begin there, before the ages, as Shaul indicated, with the message proclaimed in the stars. We must journey back to the very beginning and search for our answers as to what the feast cycle is telling us. The message in the stars is the true original words of Yahuwah. We must look before the feast of Yahuwah were given orally to Adam through Moses, before they were written down in detailed instructions in the Mosaic covenant. Why? Because now, in the Yushaic covenant, they have found their ultimate meaning which was ordained before the foundation of this earth, and predestined before the ages of Shaul. As Apostle Shaul stated, that meaning, as King David proclaimed, is that of a bridegroom running the course of a wedding. This fundamental message, written into the stars by the Creator, as a witness to all mankind, is further revealed in covenants made between the Creator and mankind. Each and every covenant in the Bible is a marriage covenant, and the law is the marriage vows. This plan of salvation through a wedding was further revealed to us in parables and idioms. And that's why, because it was hidden, secret, because God knew it would be perverted. Parable of the wedding banquet in Matthew 22. Parable of the faithful servant in Matthew 24. Parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25 and Revelation 19. We find that Yahusha, who is the bridegroom, constantly taught the same message, written in the stars, giving us more and more insight into the plan of salvation, the plan of the bridegroom redeeming his bride. The annual wedding portrait. The appointed times, or the feast of Yahuwah, each year, are literal rehearsal of this divine wedding proclaimed in the heavens, the Zodiac, and also can be compared to an arranged marriage. The spring feast, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, and Aquarius. The fall feast, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo. Passover and unleavened bread is the spring feast. And then Yom Teruah, the trumpets, the days of all, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, the Feast of Booths, and or tabernacles, and kingdom reign. This message and meaning behind the annual feast is hidden, knowledge revealed only to those invited to the wedding. Like Apostle Shaul said, it was not understood by the leaders of Israel in the Second Temple period, or by those who led us in this age, even now. And that is true, because until I read this book, I had never heard of this. The Messiah ben David and Messiah ben Joseph. The Messiah is represented in the heavenly scroll to die first and suffer to earn the right to reign as king. The prophets understood this and represent the Messiah in Scripture as a double-natured servant king. These prophecies are known as the Messiah ben Joseph, the suffering servant, and the Messiah ben David, the conquering king. The spring feasts give us the role of the Messiah ben Joseph, as the Messiah must suffer and die for the forgiveness of sin. Then the Messiah is raised from the dead, granted eternal life, and returns as conquering king, the Messiah ben David, which is foretold in the fall feast. The Jews lost sight of the heavenly scroll, which dictates the order of the Messiah must fulfill the plan of salvation. He must come first as shepherd and die then as harvester, to gather into one the two houses and rule as king. Leo, being weary after spending over 500 years in captivity, they simply did not want to submit to the plan of salvation, therefore denying Yahusha as the Messiah, because he did not come as their king first. He came to fulfill the heavenly scroll, not their selfish desires. So they killed him. In the heavenly scroll, we see the dual nature role of the Messiah foretold in the starry host, constellations Virgo, Sagittarius, and Taurus, We see in these pictographs the Messiah will come, first as shepherd, then as harvester. He will be a double-natured seed, and the ruling shepherd king. There is an order in the plan of salvation, the prophets and the feast cycle, all based on the heavenly scroll that the Messiah must fulfill. Until the Jews come out of the rebellion against the plan of salvation, deny themselves, and accept this divine order, they will remain outside of the Mosaic covenant. It's sad. Virgo, a virgin will give birth to a beautiful and glorious branch. The seed of the woman will be a man of humiliation, to rise up, to be the desire of nations, and will become exalted, first as shepherd, then as harvester. Sagittarius, the double-nature seed, servant king, triumphs as a warrior and pleases the heavens, and builds fires of punishment, and casts down the dragon. Taurus, the conquering ruler, comes, the sublime vanquisher, to execute the great judgment. He is the ruling shepherd king. We see the suffering servant portrayed in the heavenly host constellations, Libra through Capricorn, which became the foundation of the spring feast. Libra, the scales demand a price to be paid of this seed, a cross to endure. The victim will be slain and purchase a crown. Scorpio, there is a conflict between the seed and the serpent, leading to a struggle with the enemy. The enemy is vanquished. Sagittarius, the double-natured seed, servant king, triumphs as warrior and pleases the heavens, builds fires of punishment, casts down the dragon. Capricornus, eternal life comes from his death, and he is the arrow of God. He is pierced, yet springs up again in abundant life. We see the conquering king portrayed in the heavenly host constellations, Aries through Leo, which were later articulated in the fall feast. Pisces, the Redeemer's people multiplied, supported, and led by the Lamb. The bride is exposed on earth. The bridegroom is exalted. Aries, the Lamb is found worthy. The bride is made ready, and Satan is bound. The strong man triumphs. Taurus, the conquering ruler comes, the sublime vanquisher, to execute the great judgment. He is the ruling shepherd king. Gemini, the marriage of the Lamb. The enemy is trodden down. The prince comes in great glory. Cancer, the great bride. The two houses of Judah and Israel are united. They are brought safely into the kingdom. Leo, the lion king, is aroused for rending. The serpent flees. The bowl of wrath is upon him. His carcass is devoured. The lion of the tribe of Judah rules as king. Just amazing. You put it all together, it's just absolutely amazing. Physical shadow of greater truths. Hebrew Jewish weddings were prearranged marriages. They were consisted of the father choosing a qualified groom, the groom paying the dowry or ransom for the bride, the groom introducing himself to her father, the bride presenting himself to the bridegroom going away to prepare a place for her in his father's estate, the bridegroom returning for his bride, the wedding, and the wedding banquet. Remember in Psalms 19, David described the Zodiac in great detail. He said the sun was a shadow picture of the Messiah as the bridegroom ran the course of a wedding. With this in mind, let me show how perfectly the feast cycle or appointed times of Yahuwah reflect the physical marriage process of a Hebrew wedding, as foretold in the stars, the bridegroom running his course. Keeping in mind that a marriage between a man and a woman is a physical to spiritual parallel that should help us understand our role as the bride in the spring and fall feast. The father choosing a qualified groom. This is reflected in Yahuwah's choice of the Messiah, Yahusha, as proclaimed through the prophets. The rehearsal dinner. The Chagai meal on the 14th of Abib is a remembrance meal where we are to discuss the upcoming wedding rehearsal and what each day represents. This is called the Last Supper in our Hellenized English Bibles. I explain all this in my upcoming book, The Narrow Gate. We see Yahusha teach the meaning of the upcoming Passover, and that it is to be celebrated each year in remembrance of Chagai, of him, 1 Corinthians 11:24 and Luke 22:19. The groom paying the dowry or ransom for the bride. This is a shadow of Passover, as Yahusha paid the debt to the father of the bride and redeemed us from our prior lives into a new life in covenant with Yahuwah through Yahusha. He paid the dowry or ransom owed to our father. Matthew 20:28. Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give his life as a ransom for many. The groom introducing himself to the father of the bride. Feast of First Fruits, John 20:17. Yahusha said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father." The bride presenting herself to the bridegroom and agreeing to the marriage vows. Shavat. On Shavat, we are to follow the example set by Yahusha during Passover. We are to mikvah, baptize, or shower, or bathe ourselves. Bring our own lives as an offering at the altar of Yahuwah, a lamb without blemish, and then present ourselves properly to our bridegroom on Shavat. We agree to the wedding vows, the law, the commandments, the Torah, by saying, "This we will do," or "I do," as they did at the foot of Mount Sinai. It is a celebration of giving of the wedding vows and honor accepting them. SHAUL expressed the way we are to present ourselves in following Yahusha's example of mikvah, circumcision, and bringing an offering. Again, we see the plan of salvation is a marriage covenant. Wow, it's amazing. I mean, this is not taught in our church, in any church, any sermon, anywhere. Ephesians 5. Apostle SHAUL likens the example Yahusha set to marriage. Like I said, the feasts are a marriage celebration. We see below, SHAUL teaches the example of mikvah, circumcision, and offering. Husbands, love your wives, just as the Messiah loved the assembly, and gave himself up for her as the Passover lamb, paying the dowry, to set her apart, ritually cleansing her by the washing with water according to the commandments of mikvah, and to present her consecrated to himself with a circumcised heart, as a radiant assembly, without spot or wrinkle, or any other blemish, as we offer our lives as a living sacrifice, but holy and blameless as the spotless bride of Yahusha. The bridegroom going away to prepare a place for the bride in his father's estate. John 14. Yahusha says, "In my Father's house are many dwelling places. If it were not so, I would have told you, for I go to prepare a place for you. If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also, and you know the way where I am going." Here, Yahusha is speaking in the mystery language, a parable, an idiom, for confirming the wedding. Yahusha goes on and prepares a place for us in the kingdom of Yahuwah. He is not referring to a physical place, because we reign with him on earth. He is referring to a place in the family of Yahuwah. Yahusha is going to perform the duties of a high priest and offer the proper gifts and sacrifices before the throne of Yahuwah for our sins. The bridegroom returning for his bride. The Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah. This is a portrait of the second coming of the bridegroom to receive his bride. This occurs on the Feast of Trumpets, Yom Teruah, which is celebrated over a 2-day period at the beginning of the 7th month, because it is the only feast based on the timing of the new moon. Yom Teruah became known, therefore, as the idiom, the feast of which no man knows the day or hour, because we don't know the exact timing of the new moon. Yahusha confirmed his return on the Feast of Trumpets when he used an idiom for this feast in Matthew 24:36. But about that day or hour, no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. Here Yahusha was both confirming his return on the Feast of Trumpets and the arranged marriage using another idiom. No one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. You see, the marriage was arranged by the Father, unknown to the Son. Wow. The wedding, Yom Kippur, or Day of Atonement. This is the actual wedding day celebration. The groom atones for himself and for his new bride. The wedding banquet, Sukkot, or the Feast of Tabernacles. This feast is known as the wedding banquet as portrayed in Revelation 19, and was the meaning behind the parable of the wedding banquet in Matthew 22. It is outside of the scope of this book to explain in detail the Feast of Yahuwah, how they fulfill the plan of salvation written in the stars, and our role in properly keeping them as his bride. I cover this in great detail in this book series in my book, The Narrow Gate, and in the wedding invitation, the annual celebration of the wedding. And we will read that too. When I finish this book, we'll move on to Mystery Babylon. But eventually we will get to that. My point here in this book is that David understood the true meaning of the Zodiac. The message in the Zodiac is told from the standpoint of a wedding, as the bridegroom comes out of his chambers and runs his course through the Zodiac. The fundamental message to all humanity, written in the stars at creation, is that of a groom coming forth, paying the ultimate price for his bride with his life, and redeeming her from death, and ruling together as king and queen. Later in this book, we will examine this message in great detail. The message was This message was further defined by Yahuwah and laid out in his ordained feast cycle as we celebrate the plan of salvation and rehearse our role each year, a message that goes out to all earth as the sun travels its course through the Zodiac. This is why I'm doing these videos, is because you never hear this anywhere, nowhere. Feast of Passover. The groom pays the dowry. Feast of First Fruits. The groom presents himself to the father of the bride, spotless and ready for his bride, or sinless. Feast of Weeks. The groom goes to prepare a place for the bride in his father's estate. Feast of Shavuot. The bride presents herself to the groom, spotless and ready, and the wedding vows are agreed upon. The law. Feast of Trumpets. The groom returns for his bride, is announced and comes forth. The bride is revealed. Yahusha coming back for us. The second coming. Feast of the Day of Atonement. The groom makes atonement for himself and his bride as they become one through covenant in a wedding ceremony. Feast of Tabernacles. The wedding banquet. Now let us look at the message contained in the Zodiac, proclaimed in the heavens from the foundation of the world, predestined for our glory. Does this message proclaim a bridegroom running the course of a wedding? Is the message in the heavens the foundation of the annual feast cycle? Oh yeah, chapter 8. That'll be in the next video. Thank you for hanging in there and listening and watching. God bless.